all my cool components here going, and we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you're doing great no matter where you are. Getting some stuff together here, which should make a very exciting Tech Tuesday. And yeah, thank you so much for joining no matter where you are on the globe. Hopefully things are going well with you and you experienced a wonderful weekend as we did. Lots of events going on in Southern California, which has been just absolutely spectacular. And it's been a great journey for the team and I getting together vehicles for the upcoming SEMA show, which is a great way and place for us to be able to launch our activities in the automotive scene into the year to come, being 2026. Cars in the Wild, good seeing you recently. Tech2sDay, he says, let's go. Thank you so much. Very talented enthusiast and also photographer. Vroom 68 says cheers. Cheers to you as well, my friend. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you indeed. Okay, I have quite a few opportunities here as I sit in one of the showrooms here at Bisimoto. We have front and center, my good friends and family here on Instagram. I have you on YouTube live, which is great. So thank you so much for joining and allowing me to use that platform as an archiving moment. I have TikTok in the house with so many individuals joining. Appreciate all of your candor and dedication there. And for those of you who love to hear what we talk about via podcast networks, I do record this via Spotify podcasting, and that allows me to cascade it through different podcasting channels, whether it's Google Podcasts, Podbean, you name it, we are active. Just search for BISIMOTO, and you are good to go to hear what we talk about. This past weekend was a blast. Had the opportunity to go to IKEA in Costa Mesa with an event that was put together by the Morning Car Club. Let's see, there was, hundreds of cars there. It was their inaugural combo of cars and coffee with IKEA, and it was a great venue. Had my first experience with Swedish sausage, Swedish meatballs, I say. And I believe that Jonathan and I were talking about that recently. He said it's the best. It's one of the reasons he goes to IKEA. I liked it, it was cool. I may have just set my bar a little too high with that. What you mad for on TikTok, says the man. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate the kind words indeed. Ramirez Humberto Jose says, hello, Santo Domingo in the house. Santo Domingo ROL Racing. Thank you so much for joining. Jim Spotting, good afternoon. Good seeing you. The Doors Force says, happy Tech Tuesday. Happy Tech Tuesday to you as well. So please forgive the noise in the background. My team is working away. As I mentioned earlier, we're getting cars ready for the upcoming SEMA, while we're also building cars for clients as well. Barry Boy 78 says, your work is amazing. Thanks for the kind words. Once again, and I've said this on many a Tech Tuesday, I am nothing without my team. My team is here. They do all the crazy hard work and so on and so forth. So I'm very appreciative for all their effort. Texan Evo X or Evo 10 says, hello, good seeing you as well. Same with Stefanization on Instagram. Thank you so much. Exo Truck said he's a bit flabbergasted. Driving on the highway the other day, he got 26 miles per gallon on E15 and felt torquier in 6th gear than the trip earlier at E75. Same ignition at that load. Temps were slightly cooler. That is interesting. We typically see the opposite because the higher amount of ethanol we see and the fact that we now have latent heat of vaporization in our advantage, we have the opportunity to have more ethanol, which evaporates nicely, which cools intake charge, allows for a higher octane rating, which is quite nice. It is a win-win. The one thing is timing, which, Exo Truck, you're so clever. That is it. If you have more timing than you need at higher ethanol content, you can literally render your project as less efficient. It's one of the qualms I have as a builder and a tuner with remote tunes or e-tunes or street tunes. There's no way to optimize and quantify power and efficiency just driving on the road or someone sitting in the basement of their mom's house, sending you maps based upon feedback on logs. Because think about it. Let's say, I'm going to use very simple numbers for simplicity's sake. Let's say that you get peak torque at 6,000 RPMs and your peak torque requires 28 degrees of timing before top dead center. Let's say your car loves that. But that same setup will not knock until, let's say, 35 or 36 degrees, okay? What will end up happening is a lot of e-tuners, and I've seen this because I've yet to see an e-tune, a street tune come to my shop that was close to optimal. What they typically do is they put a bunch of timing in the car until they see a little bit of knock and they leave it there or pull back a little bit. Well, even though the car may be safe at that range, it is far from efficient because remember, you are best at 25 to 26 degree timing. And that 25 to 26 makes you more power, more efficiency, runs much cooler. It's a win-win. Meanwhile, there's no way to optimize that if you don't have a dyno. A dyno will tell you, oh, you're making more power here. A dyno will tell you, oh, this is good and this is not. Oh, you optimize at 26, adding 28 degrees of timing, 2 degrees more, no more power. Adding more, no more power. Adding more, even less power. A dyno tells you that. Nakai, Akira Nakai, 321 Go says, not Dreadhead. It's so weird. Nakai is the gentleman who's at the forefront of RWB. And in the Porsche community, which I belong, because you can see quite a few cars like here, there's a Model 3 Tesla Slam there, and a very beautiful 935 right behind me. Those particular enthusiasts do tend to frown upon Nakai and what some of the things he does. I've heard things from people saying he's a hack and so on and so forth. I think he's very creative and very talented. And he personally tracks his cars. Now, do all his customers track? Maybe not. Maybe a lot of them are even slower than factory because they have wider, heavier body kits and bigger wheels. But some of the clients, even in Japan in particular, do track hard and demand respect. So, Naughty Dreadhead, just to let you know, I respect the chap. He's doing great things. And once again, as a builder, is one thing, what your clients do is something else. But thanks so much for your insight nonetheless. Appreciate you indeed. I paid $1,200 to have MBT tuned on a dyno. Yeah, there's some opportunity there. There may be opportunity. And it may be some good feedback to provide them to let them know at E15 your setup was more efficient because they may want to revisit what they did with your car nonetheless. We typically charge anywhere from 440 to 660 for a tune because most tunes are 2 to 3 hours. If there are any challenges and go longer, of course, that gets a little bit more. But the average tune here is about 440 to 660. Yeah, so not as much as 1200. So Exo Truck, I hope you do get that efficiency back on your setup, which would be great. Because honestly, you should be making more power and even more efficiency with a higher ethanol content, which is good. I love the way those cars look with those white bodies. Your car looks great too. Thank you, says Naughty Dreadhead. Thank you so much. Appreciate that indeed. Giovanni, Oil City, greetings. Hands up. Good seeing you. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you indeed. Giovanni has known me for a very, very long time, family. Long time. And long to even what led me to this Tech2sDay. For many years, that right here behind me has been my forte. There's a Civic right next to me that you guys can see. There's my wagon right next to that. There's the Insight drag car next to that. I've always been a diehard petrol head. And for many years, I've done everything from small displacement, high RPM setups, natural aspirated, to even sport compact car turbocharged applications. In 2006, 2007, I got into Porsches, did amazing work there. Started off with the kind of crazy twin turbos in the rear, which started out as almost a mistake. So of course, for efficiency, I had the turbos in the rear with a bumper covering it. A photographer from the UK and I, his name is Guy, took a trip down to the local airport here in Ontario, took a video shoot, and I said, you know, I kind of want to show the bumpers because I kind of had them on a race style with Zeus fasteners. I took it off. We started taking pictures. He thought it was great, and people started pulling over near the airport. Like, dude, what is that? Damn, that looks crazy. What's that hanging out the back? And I said, you know what? I'm onto something here. I decided to leave the whole bumper assembly off, and it looked really cool and very menacing and race-like and track-like, but it didn't look super elegant for the street. So I then did a little bit of a modification where I put the end caps of the rear bumpers at each end to kind of cover some of the crazy fabrication and leave the turbo assembly in the middle just open with the filters, and that was perfect. And from then on, I started seeing a lot of people, a lot of shops starting to put turbos out the rear, hanging them out, doing all kind of fun stuff. And we had the opportunity to do amazing things with that and create a whole new chapter in street performance with turbos hanging out. People started doing it to Lamborghinis and Audis, and some people even did it on Zs. Everyone was just kind of tagging me on it. So it's really good to do that. And then in 2000 and I would say 17, I caught the EV bug by reluctantly building my first one, Love the speed and efficiency with it. And that being said, was absolutely perfect and kind of gave me an opportunity to appreciate a different sense of mobility and speed. By the way, this comes from a guy who hated EVs. You know, I'm wearing this shirt now. I'd never wear that pre-2017. I thought EVs were stupid, dumb. I thought they were for tree huggers. I thought they had no soul. Boy, have I thought differently now. Now, what I've done now with Bisimoto is we now have diversified. So whether it's hybrids, like I had the first hybrid I did for American Honda, still in the CRZ inside the showroom here, to twin turbo petrol setups, even ethanol based if need be, to even all-wheel drive 1300 horsepower monsters. We're doing a Neo EP9 right now for a good friend Matt Katz, which is great. So that being said, it's been great. However, something very interesting has been happening. And for that interesting thing that's been happening, I'm going to put on my Do Not Judge Me wig. And I'm going to also, thank you, Jonathan, for this. I'm going to also use my gavel for that because there needs to be order here. People really attack what we do. I've had people unfollow me. I've had people talk crap. I've had people send memes that have to do with being gay. I've had people call me a pedophile. It's crazy only because I built EVs, performance EVs. Now, I'm not building EVs that are like akin to that Model 3, which is very clean, slammed with the inner box and air ride equipment, the suspension on it, just slammed and beautiful. I can understand if someone drove a Leaf or an earlier, let's say, Honda Fit EV, or maybe the RAV4 EV, or factory-based rear-wheel drive Model 3 or Model Y. I get it, because you're like, oh, these things are great, they're kind of plants-like, but so is a factory petrol RAV4, right? I build fast, cool, fun stuff. Go through tires, subs 0 to 60, just fun stuff. But please, people still judge me with that. And it's kind of annoying, which is sad because we as enthusiasts, we should love all types of propulsion, right? We should love everything that makes us go fast. And there's beauty in all of them. One of the great things that I love about, guys and girls, I love about petrol engines is, the sound is really cool and it's really quick to fill up. At least that's kind of changing on EV space, but really quick to fill up. We kind of honed our teeth and grown significantly in that space. Some of the things I don't like about it is I get a little worried, of course. We're literally sitting on a tank full of flammable fuel and fumes. That's one thing. Secondly, elevation affects performance on internal combustion engines. There are more moving parts, more maintenance, more things that can break. You have head gaskets that can blow, all these crazy things. It starts off with low power, goes to peak efficiency, falls off again, which is sad. So there are all these things that, and then the combustion compounds are not very great for the environment, right? On the EV space, I love it because not only is it very fast and quick, but whether I'm at sea level or in Bandimere, Colorado, which is hundreds of feet above sea level, or Pikes Peak, the performance is the same. What are some of the things I do not like about EVs? Sometimes it's hard to find good fast charging stations if I'm out and about. I don't like the fact that my power output is tethered to my state of charge. A lot of people didn't know this, including myself, when I started building that. What I mean by that is, if you want the most power out of any performance EV, you have to have full state of charge. Maximum voltage to get that maximum torque, courtesy of maximum amps. And you're good. The lower the state of charge, the lower the battery life, the lower the battery voltage, you are actually getting power based upon where that voltage sits. So a 450 volt car, same car, is way faster than the vehicle if it's at 360 volts. Just much faster, just how it is. While petrol, all things being equal, if the climate's okay, whether you have a full tank or your tank is a quarter tank, your performance is the same. Of course, with the disadvantage of, hotter temps have less oxygen consumed, less power, or better yet, when your elevation, once again, air is thinner, less oxygen being ingested per unit, and then you have less power. So there are all these advantages, but there's also the mindset of hybrids. And I have been really opposed to hybrids only because I feel it's the worst of both worlds. And I'll explain what I mean by that. On a hybrid, whether it's a plug-in hybrid or a motor assist, there are certain times that you could be driving, depending on the design from the manufacturer, on EV alone. And if you're driving EV alone, let's say like the NC1 NSX, it has an EV mode that's quiet and still decent. You can get a decent amount of driving range with that without touching fuel. When you're driving around, you're literally carrying around a fuel tank, a petrol engine, the gearbox. You're carrying all this dead weight around, making that setup less efficient during your EV journey. Let's say that you're on petrol alone and everything kicks in. You're dragging around batteries, electric motors. You're just sitting with this excess weight that doesn't do any good for your petrol setup. With some setups, when the EV comes off and the petrol has to kick in, it's very dirty for the next few moments. And that dirtiness, no matter how you capture with charcoal or catalytic converter and get it heated up and light off, it still sucks for the environment. So that being said, I've never been a fan of it. Now, Toyota's been doing some really interesting things with hybrids. So today, I'm going to probably jump into one of their cost-effective models, and I'm going to experiment and see what happens there and how much fun and efficient that setup can be. So even though I have my own prejudices, I'm going to put them aside, have an open mind, and see what this hybrid would do for us. Speaking of facts glued, says Bamba, aquascaping, don't make sense for anything except gas mileage. So we'll find out. I'm going to explore how this can assist in a very good way. If I had to guess what I would find appealing, it would have to be something that's a very efficient motor assist that doesn't really just kick in all the time, but assists with some type of gas mileage opportunities and assists with torque management when it comes to passing or merging to a freeway. I'm gonna say, and just giving us more range. We'll see what happens. That would make more sense to me, which would be good. Would you ever make a hybrid Porsche project? Young Spicy, a client coming to me, yes. In-house me today, no, because I don't see much value in it myself personally. But my mind may change today. So I'll have this hybrid for the next week and we'll see what happens. Belbo Fab, hello Chris, how are you, sir? So good to see you. Oh, Alex is here. West Coast Alex, my very good friend. He's a street racer with us for many years. Belbo Fab is a very good friend who helped with a lot of fabrication here not too long ago. He helped with the 1,000 horsepower BK Genesis Coupe, and also assisted as well with the Odyssey that should be on display at the upcoming JCCS next month. Scotty Mash says hybrid hydrogen motor EV. I like that concept because what the hydrogen does, sorry about the noise. What the hydrogen does, it gives an opportunity to have a lot more cleaner tailpipe emissions. You still can have oxides of nitrogen, but there's a way you can scrub that and have a cleaner exhaust. But you can also, compared to petrol, have more caloric output, meaning you can make more power with the same engine combusting hydrogen alone. But it will still take the same power pathway as any internal combustion engine, where it starts off less efficient, peak torque, and falls off. So an electric motor can help accentuate all of its shortcomings and make a lot of fun. Mike Juror is asking, are you the same guy that was on Netflix a few years ago? Yes, I had 2 shows on Netflix, Fastest Car with the Odyssey, and also Hyperdrive, where Rutledge Wood was the host of that show. And it was almost like, how should I say? American Ninja Warrior meets Cars, like merged together. It's kind of crazy. So we had all these cars, and I was kind of a coach to one of the teams, and that was with the guys from Sao and the team from SOS. They had a beautiful LS powered Z, and I kind of coached them around navigating the courses. So it's a lot of driving madness. Fastest Car was a lot about car culture. It was more of how should I say, reality show, reality TV, scripted reality TV, right? Which is pretty interesting, you know. I was thinking the hydrogen just to charge the batteries like a train, says Scotty Match. Well, that is the scope of what you would see with cars like the Mirai. or some of the options from Honda as well. Honda also has had a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. And what the hydrogen fuel cells do is it uses hydrogen as a means to charge up batteries, and then the battery is now there as a storage device for energy that the electric motor then utilizes, which in theory means, or in practicality means, that you can have an electric motor powered by hydrogen without having to charge. The challenge is, from what I've seen with things that are commercially available, the fuel cell charging capacity, which by the way, urinates water when they're driving on the road, which is pretty cool. You see a car is like peeing out water. It's just water, byproduct of the combustion of the hydrogen. Those setups don't charge fast enough to the cells to allow for a high performance application. So if I want to make 1300 horsepower, I have to have a very interesting system that may be quite large or not even feasible to allow me to have that for a long period of time. So would a combination be a little bit nicer? Maybe. What I mean by combination is where you can still plug in to charge up your proper battery to a huge capacity, but maybe use the hydrogen setup fuel cell as a range extender. That could be something that could be quite interesting. So I love that indeed, you know? What I've seen with the Porsche hybrid system, it's more of an integrated motor assist. So this is a question coming from our good friend Bamba Aquascaping here on TikTok. And it's very similar to what Honda did initially with the CRZ. For those of you who remember the CRZ, that's supposed to be the concept Renaissance Zero. That particular CRZ is supposed to be a replacement for Honda. The blue headlights, from what I gather from internal sources, was a nod to Blue Eyes, being Frank Sinatra, who the original designer of the CRZ in Japan had a very soft spot for. But this car had a petrol engine, a small LEA1, which is very similar to what you may see in the modern day Fit, like an L series engine. You may even see it, a derivative of that in the Civic and Civic SIs. So the L15 1.5 liter inline four setup. It has a transmission, and it has this axial radial style electric motor in between. It looks like almost like a disc or a pancake. And that motor is an absorption unit and also a distribution motor. So it can act as a generator, it can act as a motor. It can absorb energy and put into batteries. It can also act as a unit that can help push out energy to assist the motor. So what you then had is this electric motor, no need to plug in, with this nickel metal hydride battery in the rear of the setup. Very small capacity. I think it's less than 16 kilowatt hours. And what will happen is as the car drives, when you're cruising or decelerating, instead of just dissipating the deceleration by noise or heat, it puts it back in the battery via the motor in the middle between the gearbox and the engine, and charges the battery up. And when on demand, let's say you're flooring it to get more power, or you're trying to help your vehicle move on, it can assist the motor by helping with a little bit of fuel economy and also power as well. That's exactly what Porsche is doing. Very, very similar to that. There have been companies out there that do aftermarket setups like that, which is pretty nice. Love your Honda Odyssey, says one crazy vet. Thank you so much, appreciate that. It will be on display this coming month in October, I believe on the 12th at JCCS, which is pretty cool. I'm sorry, the 11th at JCCS in Long Beach, California. Any thoughts on the 2ZZ by Toyota? I like that engine. It is the one engine I feel, when designed properly with the proper components, can probably give the Honda K-Series a run for its money. The ports are decent. The degenerating solid on the bottom. It came in the Scion TC, and I think some Corollas too. But nonetheless, we have had a client here, Leslie Durst. She started the Hondas and then ended up picking up a Scion contract a few years after she got into the Honda scene. And she built this crazy tube chassis Scion TC drag car. Got that thing to super low nines, naturally aspirated, which shows that the 2ZZ with decent, not even crazy aftermarket support like Honda, but with decent aftermarket support, can be a formidable engine and can create a lot of good, reliable power. Julius Jones says, hello, Mr. BC on YouTube. Thank you so much. Delta One is also saying good day, sir, with a nice flexing arm. Appreciate that. What's up with that G Tesla, says Wesson and Smith, who's going to force me to do something else here again. Wesson and Smith, thank you for allowing me to put this on. This is my Do Not Judge Me wig. And Mr. Wesson and Smith is judging me, saying, what's up with that gay Tesla? That's what he's saying. Well, Mr. Wesson and Smith, that G Tesla over there was my very first Tesla ever. I bought it from the auctions, had the opportunity to be able to modify it. It was my daily driver for many years. I picked it up with about, I think, 14,000 miles. I think it has close to a little over double that now. It's awesome. It's a great, reliable setup. I've not had to put anything in terms of maintenance. If I go somewhere, it hard parks like that, slammed with some nice airbag systems for air ride suspension. Has some wheels from 1552. Up top there from Inno, which is a nice cargo box in case I fill it up. I updated the interior to have a nice yoke steering wheel, which gives that nice motorsports feel and gives it a little bit more feeling like you see in a Plaid. The one thing that I don't like about that vehicle is it's not super powerful. So as a commuter, economical commuter, being a standard range plus, gets a little bit close to 200 miles range, which is good. I have an adapter to use either CHAdeMO or even CCS1 with the updated module to allow me to charge that anywhere, Tesla networks or whatnot. It's good. It's a great commuter. And I would prefer that to, let's say, a base Mitsubishi Colt. So it's a good daily driver. So why would it be gay? I don't get it. The technology in that's quite nice. We put those drive units in quite a few cars with success. So it's been good. It really was an eye-opener to me on some of the benefits of having a daily driver EV. And then my very good friend and also lead fabricator here, Jonathan, also picked up a similar one as well. But he got something that's a lot more fun, a performance version, which by the way can outrun a late generation Viper. Looking like that. So if you're an enthusiast, you should rescind that remark. If you're not, I completely understand where you're coming from. That means you don't quite understand. That's okay. Taking this off, and with that, I would say adjourned, right? So, that being said, guys, let's see here. Can you please do a Honda D-Series build? Your 2.4 cam is still the king. Thank you so much. So, Beat Civic, is that how you say it? How you say it? Beat EJ Civic. Beat EJ Civic. I'll share with you something that you may not know about me. I honed my teeth in D-Series performance while I was in school. I couldn't afford to do B-Series swaps. You think about back in the day in the mid-90s, like 93, 94, people like Dr. Charles and Lucky Mike, they were doing these swaps with Preludes and B-Series engines from Integras. And those swaps were $5,000, $6,000 then in mid-90s money. We had companies like The Place that made mounts. Brian from Hasbro was doing his own thing as well. A little bit after. It was really good stuff, a lot more power. It's almost like the Shelby Cobras of the sport compact world, to get a lightweight Civic, like an EG like this, or CRX, and put a big motor, big block motor. It was great. I couldn't afford that. So I stayed with what I could afford, which is a D-Series that was in my car already. So that being said, that allowed me and forced me to create products that allowed me to be more successful. And fast forward to today, there are records that are still held that haven't been broken by that D-Series. With a D15, I was able to run 12.6 natural aspirated full street. Then I gutted the car, didn't cut anything, no tube chassis, gutted the car, went full track build, got it to 10.7 with a D15 natural aspirated. I think we got that motor to 236 wheel horsepower, which is amazing on a dyno jet from Harv St. Mary. I'll post that very soon. Maybe on Thursday as my throwback Thursday around that. This was a single cam D-Series, by the way, Josh Wonderbread. Single cam D-Series, indeed. And then when I kind of graduated to turbocharging, I did the wagon and got to 724 horsepower. Single turbo on 91 octane and an AEM water methanol kit. And that worked amazingly well. So that really helped a ton. Then I graduated to the F22A when I got out of school, so I make a little bit more money, could afford any engine I want. I still didn't go with a B-Series. I decided to go with the big block of the D-Series world, an F22A. So to answer your question, I've done a lot of builds. Should I do another one? Maybe one day I may build another wagon, natural aspirated, or look for an earlier CRX just to pay more homage to it. Side drop Webers and Mikunis were my go-to. I just loved it. It was a cost-effective way to have ITBs without breaking the bank. Benny Hanna, thank you so much for providing my number 3 gifter badge here on TikTok. Appreciate that. Same with you, Lucky May. Appreciate the kind words. And Cole Victor for number 3 gifter badge as well. Appreciate the kind gesture. Appreciate that. Lucky May says, seeing your Porsche race car builds, any chance you attempt an open wheel race car build? Absolutely, Lucky. I am not opposed to doing an open wheel car that's a lot of fun. I help a lot of teams with Formula SAE that come here with open wheel, but I'd love to build one with all the Bisimoto magic. That would be absolutely spectacular indeed. That's crazy, says the Z096 on YouTube. I'm in the middle of building my D series. Nothing crazy though. I'm aiming for a reliable 250, 300 horsepower if I can. Yes, you can. You can do that without breaking the bank. I would like to suggest something as your goal. You will not have to sleeve that block for that horsepower goal. It's a nice to do, but not a must do. But I implore you, at a minimum, upgrade your rods, your pistons. I'm going to help you with a piston design in-house if you'd like, and your valve train. Even if you keep your factory cam, upgrade your springs to like Bisimoto Pro springs. We have them in stock. They're very cost effective, like $100. They're amazing. And a lot of D series, not only are they prone to float because those factory ones are very weak, but if they have any decent miles, you may have annealed those already or softened them already via heat. Update them, invest. You can even use your factory retainers if you want to, but at a minimum, get a Bisimoto Pro springs, then do your turbo setup, and you will be golden. Golden, golden, golden. And I agree. He says that the D series are no longer a couple $100. I used to get D series engines for free because B series swap guys would throw them in the trash can. I'll pick them up. Yeah, they're pretty expensive now, but still a lot more cost effective than, let's say, a K series or a B series. So you're still good. What do you think about the ZC single cam and dual? I love them, Roger, at that. D series ZC single cam is very similar to the D16A1, especially if you're talking about the ZC non-VTEC. Very similar to D16, what am I saying? D16A6, not A1, D16A6. And the only difference is you have slightly higher compression and a different cam profile. But they're very interchangeable. The D16A1 is a twin cam engine that came out of the first gen Acura Integra 86 to 89. The ZC twin cam is very similar to that, also again with a different cam profile. They're a hotter camshaft. I am not a huge fan of the A1 or ZC twin cam because the valve train, the way it sits where the cam is right on top of a rocker assembly that actuates the valve, the rocker pad limits how much lift and duration we can get. And then if you go too high in operation in terms of RPM, you can literally spit out one of your rockers. Well, I have been successful north of 8,500 RPMs with the standard rocker assembly in the single cam, which is just a pull with the rocker arm that kind of extends like a regular rocker instead of a cam sitting on top of it like you would with an LS. Okay. Good question from Jose Ortiz, who gave me a very nice #1 gifter badge. Appreciate that. Is it worth, Aristoman12 said, is it worth to put my money into a single cam F20B? Absolutely. F20B has existed in two opportunities. Twin cam F20B, which is very much like the F22, the H22 here in the US, interchangeable in terms of valve train components. Bottom end is a little bit different. The F20 single cam and the F18 single cam are very similar to the non-VTEC F22A here in the US. You can find them in Japan and in Australia and parts of Europe as well, which is good. Yes, I have even built those with a lot of success. Sorry about the noise, sorry about that. So it's been good, absolutely you can. It's totally worth it. Most creative car design in the game, says one Leo. Thank you so much for the kind words. I can pause it. I'm pausing because I want you guys to be able to hear me properly. So you're good, you're good, you're good. You're the man, BC. Thank you so much for the knowledge, says the 98. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. No problem as well. How much RPM can you get out of a D15B, says Alan Brecker. My experience was about 8,700 RPMs is what I've done myself. Can I push that further? Yes, I can. But there are two things that limit my high RPM capability. The valve train, because the valve rocker arm assembly pad is so small that if you get a camshaft that's big enough to take full advantage of the higher RPM, it'll fall off the rocker and eat it up. Now, there are ways around it. You can make custom billet rockers. You can even be very creative in extending the rockers that are factory. So there's some ways around that. But on the same token, the valve port is also another limitation. The D15As, Bs, non-VTEC, VTECs are amazing engines for low RPM torque because the ports are small and allow for very nice acceleration of the mass flow rate of air into intake port because of said small port. The challenge is for big power, it becomes a bottleneck. It becomes a restriction. So one of the reasons why a D16A versus a B16A, the B16 makes more power, even the same displacement. Let's set aside the differences in the bore versus stroke, but if you really think about the valve size and the head ports, that is the big difference, and that's why one makes more power than the other. I'll ask you a question, Alan Drescher. What would be the reason for you to want to buzz an engine so much higher? There's a rumor that I heard when I was interviewing a lot of individuals back in the 90s around RPMs that came from the domestic V8 scene. They would say that RPM means ruin people's motors because high RPM does put a lot of stressors and stuff. If you have the gearing need or the opportunity to take full advantage of a head port configuration by revving high, by all means do it. If you can get away with a lot of speed, power, and efficiency without buzzing your engine to oblivion, do it. Hell, for goodness sakes, I've noticed a lot of our gearboxes in the Honda world can't even survive shifting at high RPMs. So that being said, maybe we should think more about our end goals more than just, can we do it for the sake of doing it? Maybe you should try an electric motor. My conversion motor is revved to 18,500 RPMs. If you're really rev crazy, but you can cruise at 10,000 without no problem, that's all, you know? What can we do with an Acura 5-cylinder engine? A ton. The ones in the Vigor, you can do a ton. And they sound pretty cool. It's just aftermarket really didn't embrace it. Maybe because I never built one. And what I mean by that, not to sound a little self-centered, is one of the reasons why the F22A has any decent aftermarket support is because we played with it. Same thing with the D series. So maybe if I played around more with the A series or the even C series or the Vigor 5, maybe would have done a lot more. But yeah, to have something that's bigger than a 4-banger but less than a V6 and inline can be pretty cool. Just want to make sure that we're not going high on our red line. We have a D16Z6 head on a D15B, says Alan Drescher. Yeah, the telltale would be when you're the dyno and where you start seeing it tapering off. I seldomly go past 1,000 RPMs to peak power, seldomly. And the head port would dictate it, my cam would dictate it, and sometimes, and I don't like seeing this, valve float. If you see a rapid decline in your RPM power while you're on a dyno, it's very possibly a floating valve, especially if you see a sharp decline and a weird fuel map after that. It's very interesting. What's the hate on the G23 motor, says Josh Wonderbread. I talked about that last Tech Tuesday. I don't hate on it. I think it's okay. It's a F series block, most likely an F23, which has more displacement than H22 with an H22 head, and it's much more cost effective to do. I just don't like the fact that all your returns don't line up. And you have to do clever things with your valve angles and your pistons if you want to do it right. So I'm a huge advocate that if I'm going to build an H series setup, I'm going to build a full H series. If I'm going to do an F, I'll do a full F. The mixing and matching, especially if things don't bolt on very nicely, I'm not a fan of. I'm okay with LSV techs because those bolt on okay with slight modifications to the gasket and some other components, but it's a lot more involved. Literally the F series block sits in significantly more than the H22 head. The H22 head literally has all your galleys that fall right off the block. So you gotta do some really clever, and I've seen some ghetto stuff, just to be able to get that to seal properly. And I don't like that. I like to make things proper. Maran T, how do you say it? Maran Cuz gives me a gifted badge. Thank you so much. Appreciate that indeed. We'll get your valve trainer and turbo cam, says Adam Drescher. Thank you so much for the order. Appreciate that indeed. Tell a friend. You're gonna have a lot of success. We'd love to see a dyno tune session on here. Some turbo Hondas, maybe some H to be set up. Very possible. I usually show some excerpts of that here at the shop, but yeah, a live will be good. It may be a long session. It may bore some people, but yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that at all. I love feedback, so keep them coming. Flavio617 gave me a number 3 gifted badge on TikTok. Thank you so much. Didn't know you had a TikTok, says Jean Morant. I have. I tried to get my Bisimoto name, but someone grabbed it, which is kind of rude, tried to sell it to me. So I have Bisimoto ENG on TikTok, but I'm glad you found me. Glad to see you here. You stream me elsewhere, says General Morant. I'm everywhere. I have you live in center. Thank you, Luke Wilson, for joining. I have Instagram as well, live. Thank you for Flavo617, the #1 gifter badge. Have YouTube live and also recording through my podcasting networks. Showing love from Houston, says Eudes Cletus. Thank you so much, Cletus, for joining. Appreciate you indeed. I still have my D series with 40 Mikuni carburetors on it. That is so cool. Love that it has no rev limit. So Josh Morris, yes, you can love that. I changed that quickly because even though I use a factory distributor with my D series and side draft 40 PHH Mikunis, then I went to 44s, then 45 Webers, then 50 DCOSP Webers, then finally 55 DCOSPs. I blew a motor by over revving once. I think I went from what did I do? I think I went from third to second while racing. And by doing that, I over revved and dropped a valve, and that wasn't fun. So what I did instead was, I did add an MSD setup to my whole car. I did a 6AL with a pill, and then I eventually, which was amazing by the way, upgraded to a digital 6 MSD, which helped me significantly with traction control. And you would say, how did you do that? Well, the digital 6 has a built-in traction control module. And then if you send a ground signal to it, it can literally do a soft rev limit with a graph you can draw for immediate traction out of first gear. So being mechanical with carburetors, you don't have any kind of traction control setup. You can cheat it by running real rich in your idle jets and a little bit in your main jets, and hopefully it cleans up in top end. But what's happening is as you shift in other gears, you kind of reach each gear, so it kind of slows you down. So what I did was I selected a digital 6, connected to my distributor, set up my rev limit, drew a graph after it's so weird, the stuff I had to do. There was a company called Innovate Motorsports. They still exist. They had some kind of data logging system that also had your RPM and also wideband trace. So what I do when I was racing is I go to a line, I do a burnout. As I go to pre-stage, I press a record button on my dash, and I do my run. And I come back, and on my laptop, I download my AFRs during the run, and also my RPM over time. I ran a race in the Joliet racetrack in Chicago, near Chicago, Illinois. That track was the best track I've ever raced at. We prep it well, the launch pad is heated, it's amazing. And this particular track was one where on my carbureted car with no traction control, I hooked. I think I hit a 1.360 foot. Amazing. Luckily for me, I got a recording of that run with my Innovate. So I looked at my RPM increment over time and saw, oh, shoot. I launched at about 6,500 RPMs. My RPM fell slightly and then came up with a weird gradient. And I took that chart, that RPM increment over time, went to my digital 6, programmed that same chart over time. Then I installed a button. I'm spilling all the beans here, guys, so you can benefit from this tremendously. I had a button on my shifter. I had a B&M T-handle shifter. I think I still have my Insight. And that button is connected to two things. The launch control on the digital 6 to hold RPM, brrr, right? And then it also had an MSD delay timer with a ground switch to that. So when I let off the button, the timer then sends a 1.4 second ground signal to my MSD to initiate the soft rev limit. So when I launch, I can mimic that. So if I ever slip my tires above that slew line, that RPM over time line, the RPM rev limit will kick in the MSD. If I'm below that, it keeps me fine. So it's kind of a legal pseudo traction control, no wheel-to-wheel sensors, like slew rate, and I use that to hook up. And guys, I'm telling you, I could launch on glass. It could be a well-prepped track, poly-prepped track. On that old school CRX with carburetors, I was able to do that with much success. It was great. Hero, hi, goodbye, says, hi, BC, I love you. Thank you so much for the kind words. Back at you. Appreciate you indeed. Thank you so much, Campbell, for the love. Classes in session, says Jamarant. Thank you. Once again, this Tech Tuesday is for me to share all my experiences because I'm a firm believer that a higher tide raises all boats. The more that we all learn from each other, the more we can be successful in this amazing automotive scene of ours. And I'm not afraid to share everything I know because tomorrow I will know more. Guys, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. and my team knows this, there's not a day that I do not go to sleep not better than the day before. I mean that. I learn and read every day. Tomorrow, I'll be more knowledgeable than I am today. So I have no chagrin sharing with you everything, guys, that I've experienced because I know it will improve as time progresses. The more I learn, can you imagine? The more I know I don't know. As a teenager, I thought I knew it all. Nope. Even now, I'm continually learning. Oh my God, look who's here. I'm joined by greatness. Retroworks Garage is in the house. Hello, Max, sir. Max is a fellow enthusiast. I love this chap. All the way from Canada. He has this beautiful black 911 with orange bumpers, has a nice martini livery. He has a facility in SoCal known as Retroworks Garage. For years, I used to see him at SEMA, parked in front of the hotel as I walked to the main halls. And like, God, this guy is here. Who is this chap? And I met him and he's been a good friend. He came to the house and hopefully we can have a nice show together very soon. He's a great guy, great guy. And when he moves to his new facility, we're gonna do a Tech Tuesday over there. So you get to get more intimate with him. Great guy indeed. Kenny Anderson 9 says, Bisimoto, you're a legend, bro. I always love Tech Tuesday. Thank you so much. The best is yet to come. Well, guys, it's been almost 50 minutes of bliss and it went by so quickly, but I have to get back to work because I'll be doing some traveling next day or so. But beyond that, we have so many projects working on. I see Nick over here working on the rolls. Jonathan's over there doing some crazy stuff. You hear that? He's doing some crazy stuff over there. I think he's working on a new artist that we have coming out. Hint, hint, at SEMA this year. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me on this Tech Tuesday. I appreciate each and every one of you and for your interaction. The best is yet to come. Look forward to seeing you same time, maybe a different place next week, but I'll keep you abreast of my hybrid excursion because I promise that I will have something very soon. And thank you, Toyota and Drive Shop, for allowing me to get intimate with a hybrid, and hopefully I love it. Maybe I won't. We'll see. Time will tell. Have a great one, guys. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.